Did you know October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month? I'm in Colfax, where the Grant Parish Domestic Abuse Resistance Team, or D.A.R.T, is preparing to host its There's Hope in Every Step walk. The route begins at the town hall and ends here at the courthouse, raising awareness and funds to support survivors.
I'm a proud native of Colfax, Louisiana. This is my home, and it means that I am deeply invested in the families here. We are connected in so many ways. So when I work, I go hard for Colfax and Grant Parish.
Amanda White is a D.A.R.T domestic violence advocate.
We talk about it and laugh about it. We are all family parish-wide. You'll find wherever you go, you've got some kind of connection. If you just wait long enough for it to click, you're going to find out everybody is connected in this parish, and that's a good thing. We want to respect and honor the fact that the story that a survivor shares is hers or his, and it is for them to choose who they share it with, when they share it, if they share it, and where they share it. And we want to honor that and not be one of the ones who continue to victimize them, because that would be victimization. And we're not trying to make people into poster children for D.A.R.T or for domestic violence awareness. We want to promote healing and recovery for our survivors that we work with.
D.A.R.T provides free, confidential support and services to domestic violence survivors in 7 northern Central Louisiana parishes.
The services that we provide, it depends on where a survivor is. The survivor is the one who's going to determine the direction that we go with them. And identify the needs that they're ready to share with us in any given moment. So we promote the fact, and we're proud of the fact that we honor that they are driving the vehicle, and we're their road buddy. And all we want to do is make sure that they are making healthy, safe choices, and that the survivor and their families are safe. Awareness will spark action, and awareness plus action is going to bring change, and that's what we want to do. We want to be visible, so we are with a lot of our awesome parish and regional partners are going to have a domestic violence walk. Someone said there's hope in every step. We know that we're going to bring awareness to domestic violence, because even if someone doesn't know what we're doing, then stop and ask the question. We'll be glad to have that conversation with you. And in any place that has doors that are open to us, we want to get the message out to survivors that they are not alone.
White says domestic violence is not a one-time thing, often happening repeatedly to someone experiencing different kinds. She says that's why, unlike a victim of a one-time crime, D.A.R.T refers to a person experiencing domestic violence as a survivor.
But when we talk about domestic violence or domestic abuse, we're talking about a pattern of behaviors that are used to gain or maintain power and control over an intimate partner, and that's very important. We support survivors of intimate partner domestic violence.
Domestic violence can include any behaviors that intimidate, manipulate, humiliate, isolate, frighten, terrorize, coerce, threaten, blame, hurt, injure, or wound someone.
There is no one size fits all. There are going to be different elements of those things in different relationships. We say survivor rather than victim, because victim implies to us that they're still walking in that control, under that control. When you say survivor, to me, that talks to me and speaks to me of someone who is reclaiming their power, that they have determined that they're going to be the author of their own story and their narrative, and that nobody else is going to be able to name them in any way. They choose the names that they answer to, not stepping in, giving their power back to their abuser.
D.A.R.T is also hosting other events for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, including a Candlelight and prayer vigil on Monday, October 20th at 6 p.m. at Hopewell Baptist Church in Colfax, and they will also live stream on the church's Facebook page.
This is also a time when we remember the victims who had their lives snatched from them. They were murdered by intimate partners, so their families are still carrying the weight of that loss. So we want those families to know at all times we're standing with them, and that we are not ashamed to stand and publicly declare that we are no longer going to be silent about domestic violence. We're going to open our mouths. We're going to call it out when we see it. We're not going to justify it in any way. We're not going to continue to blame and shame survivors for the abuse that someone perpetrates against them. We're going to make sure that folks know that we are a safe place for them, that our hearts are open, that we hear them, we receive them, we believe them, and we hold them. We want survivors to know that they are not alone, and that we're not just saying words, that we are literally taking steps Saturday morning. That's our action mantra. There is hope in every step, and I hope that folks have that reverberating in their brains. Every step they take, they're saying hope. There's hope, there's hope. And that survivors know that when they have a need and they're ready to share, that we are here to support them, and we're willing to grow as a community. We're going to walk to the courthouse, and it's not ironic. I think it just makes sense to make this about justice for survivors. What does justice for survivors look like? It looks like being held and believed and heard. It looks like eradicating shame and blame. And we hope that as many folks can come out and join us. It is a fundraiser because that's just the reality. In trying to meet the needs of survivors and make sure we can provide services to them, sometimes it does often take financial means to support them. So what we raise in Grant Parish serves folks in Grant Parish.
Also, as a part of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, National Wear Purple Day, or Purple Thursday, takes place on Thursday, October 23rd, 2025. Everyone is encouraged to wear purple to show support for domestic violence survivors while honoring those who have been lost to violence and raising awareness about the issue. D.A.R.T also invites church congregations to participate in wearing purple on any Sunday this October, known as Let the Church Say Amen. White says she wants people who do wear purple to share photos with her. The color purple symbolizes peace, courage, and the fight to end domestic violence.
We want folks to come and share with us. It's not easy because every year, hearing some of the names over the years, it still hurts a little because they should be there. They're missing family reunions, the ones who were murdered. They don't get to go to another class reunion. There are empty seats at the dinner table, empty places in hearts. There are holes in the hearts of the loved ones who will never see them again, not here at any rate. So it's important that we do this and remind folks that it affects everyone. It doesn't discriminate. Domestic violence doesn't care how young and beautiful you are. It doesn't care how many degrees you have, what your faith walk looks like, what your race or ethnicity are. It doesn't care what your sexual preference is. It doesn't care if you're rich or poor. It afflicts every group of individuals and devastates in all of them.
White has been a D.A.R.T advocate since 2014.
Sometimes it feels like 30 years because this is not easy work. Yeah. And we know that it's not easy and recognize that the traumatic events that reflect the walk of survivors is difficult, but we also have to be mindful that the family and friends who support them, they go through some of this with them. Not to imply that it's the same, but we have to, and advocates as well, we have to be mindful that we're giving adequate self-care to ourselves so that we don't burn out. And sometimes it can be pretty heavy. So we have to learn that we've got to do whatever it is that's going to speak restoration on our lives and allow us time to heal and recover as well, and to learn sometimes to leave work at work, because we can't do everything. That's why we have to have these collaborations. That's why we look at Domestic Violence Awareness Month, where all of us are working together to make sure that folks understand the needs of survivors, recognize the signs of domestic violence, and are standing and agreeing with us that they're going to be a part of change, creating change. We're not going to just talk about it. Bringing awareness is that's awesome, and that's a part of it, but that's only a part. We have to be take action.
Survivors have a range of needs, and each differ depending on their experience. Sometimes domestic abuse can cause food crisis. That's why D.A.R.T has a monthly food box program through a partnership with the Food Bank of Central Louisiana to meet the need and distribute food boxes to survivors. The Food Bank's program also allows other Grant Parish residents who meet SNAP assistance requirements to enroll.
And that was something that I was seeing a lot of, whether it was money taken or benefits taken by the abuser in order to control them. Strangely enough, it's to control. People who are getting ready to leave may say, I'm saving this amount of money, and so their abuser finds out about the money and they find a way to separate the survivor from her money. So people weren't able to feed themselves or their families, or they were in the process of leaving, but then they became ashamed because the food was taken away, or the money to purchase food was taken away. It's an awesome way of making sure that the needs are being met.
Food box recipients can pick up their boxes at Hopewell Baptist Church. If you'd like to volunteer sorting food, contact White at 318-627-5575. How important is it personally for you to tell people about D.A.R.T and just domestic violence and being the change you want to see for survivors who need help?
How important is it to me? I know it can be a matter of life or death, which is one of the reasons we have the vigil. We're saying the names of people who were murdered by people who at some point professed to love them. Most people assume it's only women. No, there are men in our service area and other service areas who have been murdered by their abusive partners. We say the names of children, of babies who were murdered. How do you heal from that? How do you ever recover from someone who might even be the biological parent of that child, murdering the child and weaponizing that child against its mother or father, whatever the case may be? How important is it? It is about life and death. It is about walking in purpose. How do you walk in purpose if you're held hostage to somebody else's abuse and control? How do you fulfill the promise on your life? It happens everywhere. There are none of us who are immune to this. It is not just a job for me. I don't know how to halfway give myself to the things I believe in. It is a calling. Sometimes I don't want to answer that calling because it can be painful, it can be heavy. But when I see people making choices to reclaim their lives and their power, that encourages me, and it empowers me, strangely enough. We know that the work we do is effective, but it's also possible to get lost in the fact that there are so many that we can't help. And that can be a little discouraging, but we do what we can. It's not my place to tell other people's stories, but when I say it affects every family, it affects every family. We see people carrying the hurt of it. I actually got to see a lady who, she wasn't a lady, she was a queen. I heard her speak last year in October, and she was well into her 90s. And she spoke about essentially reclaiming her life and her power and what it took to do that. That's encouraging, because we often forget that elders can be victims of abuse. What does it mean to me? It means that if we're who we say we are, that we don't hesitate to stand with and for others in need. If we're who we profess to be, without judgment, without blaming or shaming survivors/victims, we consider it a blessing to be able to stand.
Reporting in Colfax, I'm Maisha Johnson for AMP News, storytelling for the people.